world's fair of irrigated agriculture. And as it has for nearly a half century, Husker Harvest Days is the place to be to see the latest in livestock and crop production. Keep watching as we preview this year's show. Plus, we wrap up at the State Fair with rodeo and FFA. Later, how Nebraska ag leaders hope to open new markets around the world. Here at Husker Harvest Days, it's time to grow. We start things out at Husker Harvest Days, the world's largest totally irrigated working farm show. Visiting with Matt Youngman, Western Corn Belt, whatever you grow or raise, you're going to find something to help your operation.
That's exactly right. New products from all 550 exhibitors, including this new Chief display that they've put together, more than doubled their size and put together the All-American Farmstead, everything from the home to the farm shop to the grain handling system.
Let's talk specifically for row crop guys. What are some of the things you're going to see at this show?
Well, you know, there's always new autonomous machines, it seems like, coming out. Raven has a new product on their path to autonomy, the new 715 horsepower quad track from Case IH, and then all kinds of other things. Everybody with the irrigation companies has a new product or a new technology to show off.
And then cattle, whether you're looking for some new chutes or cattle handling or some sheds or whatever you need, you're going to see that too.
Yeah, that's right. And the genetics producers, the breed associations are all here. And so that whole northeast quadrant of the show is kind of dedicated to livestock, between the cattle handling demonstrations and the LI Livestock Industries building, and then horse gentling with Ron Knodel, stock dogs down here. So yeah, just kind of all over the grounds, there's something for everybody.
You know, I think that's what sets this show apart. I don't know of another show where you're going to see that level of hands-on interactive exhibit.
Yeah, and I'm not aware of anyone on a show on the globe that if you think about combining demos, tillage, strip till, hay tools, you know, we run balers and rakes and windrowers, and couple that with the ride and drives and the autonomy demos, horse gentling, cattle handling, stock dogs. There's just, it's a beehive of activity. And you know, something cool on the Wednesday combining demonstration, right before we kick off the 10:30 combining demonstration, the Nebraska National Guard is going to do something really special that everybody's probably going to want to see.
And then just in terms of your own health and producers, lots of different screenings and things like that you can do here as well.
Yeah, and we've doubled down on that, taken over. You know, we have everything we normally have in the hospitality tent, plus we've added another building that's just dedicated to the Nebraska Cancer Consortium, and they've organized a whole lot of education around cancer awareness. There's a 14-foot tall pair of inflatable lungs that you can walk through when you're there.
In terms of education, too, University of Nebraska, they always bring out lots of experts, and if you've got questions, that's a great resource.
Yep, you've got University of Nebraska, and they're part of the Crop Skills Challenge, so you can kind of come out and compete on some weed ID and yield checks and things like that, and win some prizes through that.
And of course, you're going to have a lot of FFA youth out here, and I think what better place to showcase kind of the future of agriculture and for them to see the world that's beyond just farming and ranching, all the different career opportunities.
Yeah, only about 1 or 2% of them actually drive tractors, but we need all those kids to fill all these roles for these companies, whether it's welding or truck driving or technology. You know, there's just tons of technology jobs available in agriculture, so get them excited about their future.
So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the website's great. Download that app. I find that really helpful.
Yes, it is, and it works whether you've got cell phone coverage or not, and it shows you where you are out here. There's been a lot of moving around with Chief, New Holland, and Beck's, and a number of them, so you might need the map to make sure you still hit your favorites. You know, another great surprise that we have for this year's show is from Titan and Graham Tire. They brought in the new Big Bud. They've started producing Big Bud tractors again, and serial number 1 is here on the ground, so you can come and take a look at that.
With the weather we've had, I think the crops will probably be in pretty good shape, and we should be able to get in the field.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, there's a little rain maybe coming over the weekend, and that's going to provide some dust control, but we should be able, the weather forecast looks tremendous. And I just checked with Jason, and the corn's going about 235 at 22%, so it's timing up perfect for some really, really good field demonstrations.
Hey, well, it's, as we said, Western Corn Belt, this is the place to be.
Yes, it is. We welcome everybody out here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Governor Jim Pillen is currently in Asia leading a trade delegation from Nebraska on a mission to South Korea and Japan. Nebraska Farm Bureau President Mark McHarg, part of the delegation, spoke about some of the things they've learned while they're there.
And we learned that while we're here, actually, Their appetites are changing. They're actually declining on their rice intake in their diets, and they're increasing their meat protein. And so that's part of the reason you have to keep coming back to different countries, is because things are changing. Koreans love their meat, and that is going up. And so it's another great opportunity that we learned.
It is very grim. Rural Nebraska is in trouble.
Now to one of the biggest issues facing Nebraska's smaller farming and ranching communities, the desperate need for health care providers. Now comes a big project to address the situation. From a farming community of 200 people, Nikki Carrot has seen the grim reality. Rural communities like her hometown don't have doctors, the ones she now hopes to train.
So to put those providers in the rural communities where they're needed to take care of our friends, family, and neighbors.
With an effort that spans communities and campuses.
Bring the med center out of Omaha to Kearney, Nebraska, and treat all phases of the medical careers.
The Rural Health Education Building is a partnership between UNK and UNMC, training up to 650 professionals a year.
This is not going to be a magic bullet. I mean, overnight, we're not going to have instant more health care providers. But I'm telling you, if we don't address it, rural Nebraska is going to look a lot worse.
And for the first time, pharmacists and even MDs can go to med school in Kearney.
The word that I'd like to use today is historic. Not only for the city of Kearney and for the university, but this will be the largest interprofessional health science education project any place in the United States. Truly game-changing.
The largest rural health education program in the nation.
8 to 9 out of 10 will stay in their rural communities and continue to contribute to health care in rural Nebraska.
UNK Chancellor Doug Christensen says it's an investment of nearly $100 million, $35 million raised privately.
And that's part of the unheard of part of it, where so many dollars were raised in Kearney, Nebraska.
Ushering in a new era of healthcare that's happening only in Nebraska.
It'll change the landscape of healthcare in Nebraska.
Visiting now with Stacy Turnbull, Director of Ag Education for the state of Nebraska. For starters, ag education, I think, is at a good place right now, just in terms of the number of kids, the number of programs, just continues to grow every year.
Absolutely. We've got 214 ag ed programs this year. We're seeing a lot of that growth continue on the eastern side, which is fantastic. We serve over 15,000 students receiving ag education. Over 10,000 students get the leadership aspect through the FFA organization.
But that also means as the number of programs grows, we need more teachers.
Absolutely. We're seeing programs moving towards second and third teachers because there's a demand with the students. So currently this year we have about 248 teachers. I mean, 8 schools though went without a teacher.
Maybe schools go without a teacher, or maybe they have somebody who's maybe less than qualified, who you're thankful for, but it's still not ideal.
Absolutely, yes. And so we're here today to try to encourage kids and families to think about ag education as a career. It's a fantastic career. I would want to be nowhere else.
Sell me on it. If somebody's a young people, maybe they like being involved in their FFA program, why would they maybe want to feature in the classroom?
If you walk around this fair, you see kids that are involved in biotechnology, floral, the livestock, the crops, the food production, the food processing, which means no day, no hour through your day is ever the same. It's always something new, and to me, that's the best part. You can't get bored because there's always something new, and you really see that change. I keep in contact with my students from 30 years ago. That's pretty amazing to have that impact.
I have to think, though, if you're trying to sell mom and dad on it, that young person, when they graduate with that degree, they're probably going to be able to walk into a job pretty easily.
Absolutely. And if it's not in teaching, so let's say a student goes through the ag ed program and they decide at the end teaching isn't for them, everybody in the industry loves an ag ed teacher because we've got that communication skills, we've got that lesson planning, but we want you to go into ag ed and get into the classroom, so we look at things like good retirement benefits. It's a great place to work, a good atmosphere, and there's plenty of jobs going on.
What are some good resources? Maybe where should they look online if they want to consider a career in ag education?
Yeah, if you Google Teach Ag Ed, all kinds of resources there. Tag to Teach is kind of what we tag all of our stuff as.
Later, how the State Fair honors a beloved rodeo coach. Up next, more highlights from FFA weekend at the fair.
This portion of NTV's Grow is sponsored by Acres Equipment, solutions for every field. Acres has what you need to get the job done.
Agriculture is front and center at the Nebraska State Fair, where they create more opportunities for kids. Traditionally, two youth organizations, 4-H and FFA, competed on the same weekend, Labor Day weekend. Starting during the COVID year, they gave each their own weekend. That freed up space in the barns, and along with other changes, Fair Board members are hosting to boost numbers.
We lowered the age for 4-H so more brothers and sisters can participate. Additionally, we doubled premiums. We know there's a ton of expense in doing this, and a premium doesn't cover nearly all the expenses, yet we give all we can, and we want those families to have a great time here and a little pocket money to buy some of that great fair food.
Those two busy weekends now in the books. Things culminated in the livestock arena with selection of the grand champion animal. Dawn Caldwell says for ranchers, this is their state championship. She says it's like cheering on your team at the free throw line in the state title game, or driving with the ball as clock expires in football. Just like those, this is what everything has been leading up to. And the second weekend gave FFA members time to shine. Events included swine and poultry shows. Students may have only been back in class a few weeks, but they've been working on their projects for months.
It's pretty big. I've been working all summer long trying to get these ready for this fair. It takes a lot.
Sunday featured beef, rabbit, sheep, and goat shows. Once known as Future Farmers of America, now simply the National FFA organization, a record number of Nebraska schools have high school egg programs. Things wrapped up Monday afternoon with selection of grand champions. And when you visit the fair next year, things will look different. Tens of millions will soon be invested on these grounds with a couple of major additions. As this year's fair comes to a close, they announce next year's theme, All Roads Lead to Fun. They're highlighting the impact construction will have at Funner Park. That includes the new casino facility, as well as infrastructure improvements funded by $20 million.
Absolutely. There are big things in store for the Funner Park campus. The ARPA funds that were awarded to the campus will soon, you'll start to see some of that project coming into fruition. The casino is also building this fall and winter and through the next year. So it seemed appropriate to choose a roads theme, and all roads lead to fun, and especially fun at the Nebraska State Fair.
It's also been a good fundraising year for the 1868 Foundation. A new project, a car giveaway. The winning raffle ticket was sold to a Grand Island woman. Rodrigo says he's been looking for a new truck, and Jenny bought one ticket, and that's all it takes to be a winner. And when that pickup pulls into the parking lot at the fair next year, fair leaders say they will see a lot of changes, including that casino and those infrastructure improvements underground. And it was an exciting day for some 4-H and FFA members who showed off their photography skills. The Nebraska Department of Agriculture selected photos for its annual poultry calendar. The calendar is a way to encourage poultry producers to practice good biosecurity and keep flocks healthy. Winners of the calendar contest were honored at the fair and received copies of this year's calendar. The winning entries come from across the state, including students from Farnham, Ord, St. Paul, and Grand Islands. What kind of weather can we expect for Husker Harvest Days? Our Grow Weather Outlook is next.
NTV's Grow Weather is sponsored by Acres Equipment, solutions for every field. Acres has what you need to get the job done.
Well, this week's drought monitor released earlier this week on Thursday morning, of course, still indicating very dry conditions across much of the Central Plains. Get a closer look now at the state of Kansas, where unfortunately kind of going the wrong way in the drought monitor. No drought now at 16.25%, abnormally dry, 83.75%. Both of those 1.5% reductions from last week. Moderate drought now at 69.75%, a 3% reduction compared to last week, of course. Severe drought, roughly 48.25%. Unfortunately, a 5% deterioration from last week. So a little bit more orange in the mix here. Otherwise, extreme drought now at 20.5%. roughly a 1.25% reduction from last week as well. An exceptional now at 1.65%, 0.35% a reduction from last week. A couple areas there added across parts of east central Kansas, and Nebraska thankfully is looking actually pretty similar compared to last week's report. Elk drought now at roughly 30.75%, abnormally dry 69.25%. Both of those, unfortunately, roughly a 0.5% reduction from last week. Otherwise, the rest of the categories look pretty similar. 15.3% in the moderate category there. Severe drought now at 28.5%. Extreme drought roughly 14.5%. And of course, the exceptional still at 1.31% there across parts of east central Nebraska. Now, temperatures for the month of September still expected to be quite warm and well above average, especially for southern parts of Kansas. Really, all of our Kansas and Nebraska expected to be above average temperatures. Otherwise, precipitation, of course, these are still the same as last week, of course, still indicating very dry conditions across much of Kansas and almost all of Nebraska, excluding rather the far northwest part of the panhandle of the state. So maybe see some more average precipitation totals there. Otherwise, the next 3 months here, above average temperatures expected for the western part of the country. Otherwise, parts of southwest Nebraska, extreme southwest Nebraska, there in the southwest parts of the panhandle, expecting to see slightly above average temperatures for the next 3 months. Otherwise, average temperatures expected. And the next 3 months in terms of precipitation, this is nice to see. Average precipitation totals are expected for all of Nebraska as well as Kansas. Your grow week ahead. We're going to be running cooler to get a taste of fall here this next week. 67 our high for tomorrow. Staying in the upper 60s on Tuesday and start to see some 70s rounding out the work week. Best chance of rain looks to be tomorrow morning, when the rain will still be lingering. We'll see rain totals, I guess rain chances rather, still about 20% each day, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Of course, temperatures the next week here running a little bit below average, 71 your week ahead average high compared to the normal high of right around 81. And likewise, the low temperatures roughly a few degrees cooler than our normal lows. Week ahead around 51, normal low rather, right around 55. And your grow proverb for the week here, got some rain in the morning tomorrow. Here's an old proverb for you. If it rains before 7, it will clear before 11. Now, I had it forecast for noon. I wouldn't mind seeing this proverb come true if hopefully it does. That is a check of your grow weather report for this week. Be sure to stay tuned next week when once again it will be time to grow.
You folks shared some great photos with us during the state fair, and keep them coming. Go to our website, Nebraska.tv, and chime in. Now for an explanation of the Air Quality Index. Moderate, which we've been in, means people who are sensitive to particle pollution need to take precautions, especially those with heart or lung disease, those who are elderly or children. A step worse is categorized as unhealthy. That impacts everyone and can have even worse effects on certain groups of people. Health officials say you may want to limit strenuous activities outdoors or move inside. When Grow returns, we head back to the state fair with a high school rodeo honoring a special coach.
Ag Innovations is sponsored by Acres Equipment, solutions for every field. Acres has what you need to get the job done.
Yeah, we're joined by Justin Noakes. He is hanging out here at the high school rodeo this weekend. And this rodeo is something a little special for you. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, it's actually labeled the Garrett Noakes Memorial High School Rodeo here at the State Fair. And it's a real neat rodeo that he was kind of instrumental in starting it a few years back. And then he passed away, so I was asked to help pick up the slack a little bit and help produce it and be the arena director. So, and then my nephew is also competing here, his son Parker today. So it's kind of a family event, and it's a lot of fun.
And that's the thing about rodeo. It is such a family event. It brings families together. And then in terms of who can enjoy it, everybody in the family can enjoy rodeo.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just a good core group of people, and between the parents and the kids, and everybody competes, tries hard, cheers for each other. It's just, they're a lot of fun.
Fall season's kind of getting underway, and it's getting off to a fast start here.
Yeah, it is, and it's hard to believe how fast time goes. But yeah, the kids are rodeo action, and they're talented. I mean, they got football and volleyball and rodeo, and it keeps them real busy and good athletes.
And the other thing is just that it's tied in so much to our agricultural heritage. You look at whether it's cattle or corn, that's the foundation of the state, and rodeo is obviously directly related there.
Yeah, a lot of ag people involved, and then you also got your bankers and your business people. But yeah, it's all tied together, and especially in our part of the world here in the Midwest. And yeah, it's nice. It all works well together.
And don't forget to tune in Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with special coverage of Husker Harvest Days each day at noon. And as we close, we're going to send you out with a look at the Parade of Champions and final drive at FFA weekend at the Nebraska State Fair. Have a good one.
NTV's Grow is brought to you by Aurora Cooperative. Tougher together, Aurora and you.